Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephen Kim and I'm just another crazy addicted angler like some of you that are watching. It's actually my first time recording in my garage today, so it feels new and weird. So bear with me, I'm not gonna lie. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different. I've been reading in the comments that some of you guys are interested in my setup to fish off the jetty, and so today I'll be doing a little gear and setup tutorial for you guys. I've actually had pretty good success bobber fishing for rockfish and lingcod in the past years, and honestly bobber fishing is my favorite technique when I'm fishing off the jetty. I'm still learning every time I go out, and honestly, that's what I love about fishing. I got a real passion to keep improving and becoming a better angler each time I fish. So if you guys got any tips or advice, send them my way. I hope this video helps some of you guys catch more fish. And for those who've never tried bobber fishing, I hope that you guys can experience the excitement of a bobber down and the joy it brings. So enough of me talking, and let's get into it. All right, let's talk about my rod and reel setup. When I'm bobber fishing, I like to use a little longer rod, so you can use your salmon or steelhead rod. I'm personally using a G Loomis E6X. 10-foot medium heavy fast action, 8 to 17 pounds, and this has been working well for me. I could probably get a little heavier rod, but fighting big fish, fighting big lings on a light action rod is actually, it makes it way more intense, more fun too. So that's my rod. And for my reel, I usually fish anywhere from 3,000 to a 4,000 size reel. This one is a Shimano Vanford 3000. I usually spool my reels with 30 pound to 40 pound braid, and that seems to work for me. It does seem a little light, but I haven't had any issues or break-offs with a 30-pound braid yet, so I feel like you can spool more line with the thinner braid, and also you can cast better. So any 3,000 or 4,000 size reel, that works. Okay, now let's move on to my float and rigging setup. So it's very simple bobber setup that I have here. I have a bobber stop that you put in first, and then I have a couple beads to a float. As far as floats go, I'm using this as an example just because I already had it pre-tied, but these two floats, I forget the brand, but these two are my favorite floats to fish off the jetty. I guess you can use any float that you guys have. I believe these are 3/4 ounce weights, floats. And so that's been working out for me. And then back to the float setup, and then I have a couple more beads on the bottom, and then this is optional, but I like to put another bead stopper on the bottom of the float, just in case you guys break off. And what this will do is it will save you from losing your floats, and so that's what I like to do. That I go down to a inline weight, and I match whatever weight the float is. So since this is a 3/4 ounce float, I would use a 3/4 ounce inline weight, and that goes down to my leader. Typically you would probably use anywhere from a 2 to 3 foot leader, but for I've noticed that when I'm fishing off the jetty, I like to have a little longer leader. What that does is it helps my bait free float and give it a more natural presentation in the water. And so this is just my personal preference, I guess. You know, the leader length doesn't really matter, and you guys can use whatever length that you guys feel comfortable with. But for me, I like the 5 to 6 foot leader, and in the middle of that, depending on how strong the waves are, I add 1 split shot weight to it, 1 or 2 usually, and just to get my bait down to the bottom a little quicker. I don't know if you guys experience this, but sometimes when I'm fishing off the jetty and I'm using anchovies or herring, there's seagulls that fly around waiting to poach you guys' baits. And there's been instances where I've even hooked into a seagull. And so just to avoid that, I also add split shot weights to get my bait under as fast as I can before the birds get there, because sometimes these suckers, they'll die for your bait as well. So yep. And then down to my hooks. I usually have 2 hooks when I'm fishing bait. It's basically a mooching rig. I like to use anywhere from a 3/0 to a 5/0 hook and a smaller trailer hook. Usually I fish a 3/0 hook, and then with the trailer hook with that's a 2/0. And I haven't had any issues hooking up to big fish, so that is my hook setup. When it comes to what pound line I use for my leaders, I usually try to stick to at least a 25 pound. So I usually use a 25 or a 30 pound mono. I usually like to use a Maxima Ultra Green. This line is very, very strong, and I rarely get breakoffs with this line. Okay, now to the bait. There's 3 baits that I typically use when I'm bobber fishing. I use anchovies, herring, and occasionally squid. I don't do anything special with my bait. The only thing that I do is I like to brine my anchovies or herring. I usually stick to natural colors. I feel like that's been the best option for me, and so I stick to just clear natural color brine. I let it soak in for about 12 to 24 hours, and then once I soak it, I take them out, I pat dry them on paper towels, and I stack them in a Ziploc. And I haven't had any issues using these and storing them for long periods of times. So this is just how I do it, super simple. And you just take it out after freezing them before you go fish, and you're good to go. Anchovies are a little more soft, and so they tend to come off your hooks a little easier than herring do. And so that's why I especially like to brine my anchovies. And also, I like using anchovies and herring because you have a higher chance to catch more rockfish as well. So that's pretty much it for my setup. There's nothing special, it's very simple. So anybody can follow it and go out and catch yourself some rockfish and lingcod. Now I'm going to quickly go over how I read the water and where I tend to fish. I like to fish the bobber when the water is a little calmer and the current is moving at a slow walking pace. When the current is pulling hard on low tide, it's harder to get your bait to the strike zones. And on the incoming tide, the waves will push your bobber into the rocks, which increases your chances of getting snagged. I don't know how well the currents can be seen here, but there is a faster current channel where the red arrows are. I like to fish just inside the fast current closer to the rocks. Typically, I tend to catch lings up against the rocks, whereas rockfish more further out. Rockfish tend to move around a lot, so it's all about locating where the rockfish are and casting into them. Rockfish also like to suspend in the water column, so constantly adjusting your depth is also key. Well, that's a wrap for how I bobber fish the jetty. I hope this helps you guys next time you're out on the water. So let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Real Kim signing out.